Okay, let's talk about week 3. It's Kim, and I thought I'd bring my journey to you in a video form this week instead of email. And I wanted to share with you how the week went and some of my experiences with food this week, which was really interesting. And then I really wanted to dive into some of the symptoms that I've experienced in my perimenopause journey, and hopefully help you. So this week has been an interesting week. If I haven't mentioned this in any of my posts, I have colitis. And for the most part, 90% of the time it presents no problems until something happens, like perimenopause and hormone change. Stress happens. I'll get flare-ups. I can certainly tell the gut to brain the axis there. If that is messed up for any reasons, that my gut is the place that I feel most. I feel it most when things are not well. I feel things in my gut. So it's been an interesting week. I will tell you that I've upped my protein from 120 grams per day to 140. Now, as we age, we don't absorb protein like we used to in our younger days. So I thought I'd just up my protein amount just a bit and see how I'd feel. Surprisingly enough, I'll tell you what I discovered. The extra 20 grams of protein made me actually feel more satiated. I felt less snacky, less cravings. I felt satiated throughout the day. I wasn't looking for something to snack on. It was really quite interesting. The flip side of that, what happened to my guts was it slowed everything down. The process of purging and having regular bowel movements came to a complete halt. So I am just, doing my own little experiment with my guts, trying to get back to what I would call normal. And I try not to do anything aggressive like X-Lax or even Senecot, because sometimes that'll purge my system and then it takes me days to just get back into a regular routine. So I wanted just to see if I changed things back to that 120 grams of protein, if things would start moving through the system a bit more. I did notice, though, that my weekend didn't have a lot of hydration, which again doesn't help with my situation. But by today, which is Tuesday, things were starting to feel normal. And a couple of things that I did was just certainly hydrate. And I decided to just pull back a little bit of protein, and things ran its course and felt a lot better. So I'm going to try to keep the 140 grams of protein. I've added a digestive enzyme that I'm going to add through my day to see if that helps me process the food a bit better, and then hopefully that keeps me satiated, keeps me feeling like I can, I don't have any food noise, and most important, it keeps my energy up and my lean muscle tissue fed. So when I'm ready to exercise, I can kill a workout. These are the experiments that I do for myself, obviously for me, but I also do it for my people to be able to share experiences that and experiments that I've done to see if they're interested in wanting to try something for themselves. So my experiment that I did a number of years ago, and this was just at the start, the fringe of a lot of information coming down the pipeline about perimenopause, how doctors were, not being very receptive to talking to us as women about it, that they weren't willing to talk about hormones. The list goes on and on and on. So I decided that it was, I had to take my own health in my own hands. So I did an experiment. I took my blood on the same day and I sent the blood to 2 different practitioners. The first one was out here at True Balance in Sherwood Park. And the second one was a pharmacist that was doing hormone testing. Now, interesting enough, both questionnaires that they had me fill out asked about, my headspace, if I was happy, how much exercise I was getting, how I eat, filled that out, and if I was having any symptoms. So we go ahead and I pull the blood, and they get a chance to diagnose the situation with the questionnaire as well as my blood work. And True Balance offered me about $250 a month of progesterone, DHEA, and a progesterone cream. So both the pills, the cream, and DHEA. The pharmacist, before he prescribed anything, asked if I was having any symptoms. Now, I will tell you, I was non-symptomatic. I had no symptoms at all, but I was testing my blood to see if I could get ahead of my hormones. And I know there's people out here that will relate to this, because as they're going through or coming into perimenopause, there's this excitement, this curiosity, and most important, you want to try to get ahead and make sure that if I keep my hormones here, then I won't be able to, I won't have these big popcorns of symptoms if I just keep everything in line. And I'd like to say that's true, but what happened to me, interestingly enough, was when I went to do the prescriptions from True Balance, I actually had more adverse effects from the prescriptions than I did from any of my hormone imbalances. So I quickly got off of the progesterone, the DHEA, and the progesterone cream. And I decided at that time to just just bareback it. There was nothing I was going to do with this body, with this mind, until there was a symptom that came up. The one part that I missed was that the prescriber, the pharmacist that was the prescribing hormone pharmacist, said that really I could use a little bit of progesterone, but because I was non-symptomatic, he would just suggest, going without anything until I presented with symptoms. Of course, I wanted to try the prescriptions I got from True Balance, because I wanted to see if they would make me feel better. And in fact, they didn't. And I just got off of them. So let's fast forward to me getting prescriptions and or symptoms. Let's fast forward to me getting symptoms. So whatever time my period is getting inconsistent, the first symptom I got was headspace. Certainly not feeling myself. Like I have really great highs and I have really shitty lows. But 90% of my time, I kind of stay up on this, this upper ridge of the highs. That's where I live. I love it. It's very rare that I'm down in the lows. So I noticed for a few months that this low was it just wouldn't go away. It didn't matter what I tried. I still exercised. I still ate right. But, I could give a shit about what was going on, and, just that meh. And I guess that's the only way that I could describe it. It was just the feeling of meh, whatever. And that's certainly not my personality at all. So when I approached my doctor, and I mentioned a little bit about this in my second week blog, my doctor and I decided to up my citalopram to 30 milligrams. And surprisingly enough, that worked. And I was delighted, but she also caveated that if I had to change my prescription again, we'd probably have to go to a different antidepressant or a different SSRI, which I wasn't looking forward to. So fast forward then, everything stabilized. I start to get hot flashes. I think you'll like this story. And if you've experienced a hot flash, you'll know that, some of us have them fast and furious, and that's how mine came in. And I couldn't believe when I looked it up that there was no calories burned from that amount of energy that my body produced in such a short period of time. Like it just didn't make any sense. How quickly the body changed, how long the hot flash stayed, and how cold I got afterwards, and not one freaking calorie got burned. So I knew that I didn't want to be there, and I didn't want to have to experience, a dozen hot flashes per day. So we looked at hormone replacement. And the hormone replacement therapy that I started was a patch and a progesterone, the pills. And because I still have a uterus, that's why I was put on the progesterone, which makes sense if you're using an estrogen patch. Again, the symptoms disappeared. I was delighted that my body responded well to that type of HRT. Fast forward again, everything's stable, and I go back to feeling in that meh zone, not understanding where it's coming from, why. Let me just preface that in between the second, little lull of depression, in between that, I did wean off of the patch and the progesterone. I was having crazy dreams on the progesterone, and I had had that experience before. So the faster I could get my symptoms under control, and the faster I could get off of them, the better I would sleep. And the better I would sleep, the better I would feel. And it's just, that's my superpower. So right before the second bout of, a little bit more depression, I wasn't taking any HRT. And I really didn't want to go back to the doctor to experience having to change my SSRI. So I had some patches left, and I decided to try it. Threw a patch on 37.5. I think they're micro units or whatever units they are in the estrogen patch, and went back on the progesterone. And funny enough, my mood stabilized. So incredibly grateful that I can do these experiments on myself, really have a really good, deep understanding about what normal is for me without thinking, feeling like I'm throwing spaghetti against the wall and hoping something changes. That's why I so much believe in having a baseline for us. I don't care if you're 20, 30, 40 pounds overweight. I'm just looking that, we have a baseline of some good health. We're walking, we're getting some fresh air, we're lifting a bit of weights, we're eating decent food. We're always going to have indulgences and crappy workouts, but at the end of the day, we kind of know what normal is for us. So when we have these deviations of hormones that are coming through us like a wildfire, it's really good to know what baseline is. So I'm happy to say that after these 3 little patches of, depression, hot flashes, depression, I'm not taking any more HRT. Happy to say that I'm not experiencing any symptoms. And also I'm completely in post-menopause. So I had my 1 day of menopause where I hadn't had a period for 365 days, and now I am post-menopausal. And also happy to say that, fairly unscathed with some of this, certainly with some of the stories that I've heard women counterparts having to go with. What I will tell you, though, is that what I notice is things that were normal before aren't normal now. So let me give you an example. Food, for example, food. So things that I would feed my body with that would feel well, especially with a cranky gut sometimes, it doesn't go well. Like eggs, I can't eat eggs like I used to. They don't sit well. I certainly can eat a kale salad or Brussels sprouts. They do not sit well. Gluten, I can have a piece of bread or a bun once a week if I'm lucky. Otherwise, it doesn't sit well. I was eating vegetable salad for months. Oh my gosh, it was my favorite lunch. Can't eat it right now. So I recognize that I have to turn my food over and make things a little bit more fresh. So I can't eat the same food, and that's how I typically eat. I'd eat the same breakfast, lunch, and dinner for weeks and weeks and weeks until I felt like changing it, and then I'd add something different into my diet. Can't do that anymore. My gut seemed to like changing up the type of foods that I'm eating even week to week. So if you're finding that some of the things that you were doing, running, food, sleeping, like if some of these regular things that you were doing aren't having the same outcome, I'm going to suggest that a lot of this is because of the phase that we're in. And I don't want you to get frustrated because I know that we can fix it. I've fixed it. I've seen it happen. We just have to come at it from a different angle. So if you want to join my N=1 experiment and find something that, really works for you, let me know. But in the meantime, I hope that the stories that I'm sharing with you help you navigate your own menopausal journey. And most important, help you see that, this doesn't have to be detrimental. It doesn't have to be, the end of our good years, our good life. This is, I mean, for me, I'm looking at this as the start of a new journey, just like puberty was, just like um, having children was, just like getting married was. This is just a new phase in my life. And like all of those other phases, we had to change. And sometimes the change was gradual, and sometimes the change hit us like a mountain. And for wherever that is for you, I wish you just be patient and give yourself grace. And most importantly, look for answers and don't stop looking until you find a solution, because there is solutions out there. Okay, I hope you enjoyed my week 3 journey. And I promise next week I'll show you some side by sides and see how much progress I'm making.